Hello everyone, this is Shubhankar and welcome to Everything as a Story. So recently I created this dynamic valuation report on Sensex under the guidance of Parth sir from the valuation school. So this is how this report works. If you change the inputs, the report will automatically update. So if you also want to create such amazing reports and want to learn about valuation, do check out his YouTube channel as well as his courses. I personally found them to be very useful. So this is a paper I wrote recently under the guidance of Parth sir, wherein I have not only included the valuation of Sensex but also elaborated on the methodology and the various assumptions taken in order to value an index such as Sensex. So this is something I did on my own, right? Here I have listed the various drawdown periods that Sensex has gone through, and in this report I'm going to try to tell you the story these numbers are trying to tell, and also if watching this video you will also be able to calculate this with the help of Excel as well as Python. So here we can see that Sensex is creating an all-time high here, right? And here I'm going to show you what drawdown exactly means, right? So here we can see from the previous all-time high, this year roughly, right? So from the previous all-time high, Sensex took 209 days to again break that high. And this is what is called a drawdown period, right? And the maximum fall it witnessed during that period happens to be minus 10.17%, right? So drawdown period refers to this period until the any stock, or let's say this index, in our case Sensex, takes the time to break its previous all-time high, and the maximum drawdown, the fall it witnessed during that period is termed as maximum drawdown, right? So this is the report I actually included in my paper, but I've updated this further, and this is the updated report. And in this video I'm going to show you how you can make this report from scratch. So first thing, we'll look for Sensex historical data and we'll go to BSE India's website. Here we are going to select Sensex. We're going to leave the frequency at daily, and we are going to go as far back as possible. Right, and I'm going to select the present date, submit, and just download this. Right, you're going to open this file. I'm going to select this data, create a new sheet, paste it here. Then I'm going to make it a bit presentable. Right, we are also going to check whether there are any errors here or not. Okay, there doesn't seem to be any kind of error here. Right, we are going to rename this sheet as raw data, right? And we are going to mention the source here as BSE India, and we are going to change the font size as well, and this. Perfect. Okay, so now we are going to include another sheet and rename this as Sensex historical daily, right? And here we are going to paste this data here, right? We are going to format this as well. We don't need this, right? Sensex historicals daily return -1. We're going to convert it into percentage, and then we are going to copy this, semicolon, open parenthesis, close it, semicolon, and hyphen, right? Okay, now we're going to copy this, paste it here in this, and instead of date is going to be here average close. This is going to be Sensex average annual return. So here the first starting year happens to be 1979, right? We are going to change this. Also we are going to format this, right? We are going to highlight this as well, because we have hard coded this, right? And we are going to drag it till we get 2022, right? I won't be taking the data for 2023, although you can take it, right? So here we are going to calculate the average for each year. The first criteria would be it's greater than this year's 1st of January, and the second criteria again would be based on the dates, is that it should be less than this year's, right? We are going to copy the format here and just drag it, right? Let me show you what is happening here. December. Here we have selected all the data for the year 1979. Here we can see the average happens to be 121.25, right? So here this is what is calculated here. Now we are going to calculate the annual average return, right? We're going to copy this here, format this as 4. Here we're going to write CAGR SENSEX return space hyphen space, right? And here we are going to write 20, and this will be, I'm going to format this as 0. Here's enter, right? And here we are going to highlight this, and here we are going to use the formula RRI to calculate the CAGR, and right, and present value, the future value I'm going to anchor. We're going to do, I'm just going to copy the number formatting and paste it here, right? 20 years, 15, 10, 5, right? 10, 5. So this is 27, so this should be 32, this should be 37, and this should be 42, right? Now what we are going to do is we are going to create a chart. We are going to select line chart, this one, and just cut it, right? Paste it here, down, right? I'm going to select this just in order to save some time, right? I'm going to copy its formatting. This is not even the main thing, right? We won't be spending much time in creating charts, because the main thing here is the calculations, right? You can figure this out on your own. The second thing we are going to create the chart for is the daily returns. I'm going to select whatever it is, and right, and we are going to paste it here, and then I'm going to copy the formatting from here, and we are going to remove the year. We're going to rename this as Sensex daily returns, right? We're going to, okay, and then we are going to copy the source from here and paste it right here, right? So with this, our Sensex historical daily is complete. Now what we are going to create, Sensex drawdown, right? I'm going to format this as, to remove this, and now I'm going to copy the headers from here, because now you have already seen me do it, so I'm guessing you can recreate this very easily, right? We are going to freeze it here, and from the previous sheet I'm going to copy the dates as well as the closing, right? And for peak, right, for peak what I'm going to do is equal to max this semicolon, enter, and then you just have to anchor the first cell, and we are going to remove all the errors as well, right? So with this we got our peak. So now drawdown will simply copy this from here so that I don't have to format it again. Close divided by the peak minus 1, and here we have the drawdown, and here we are going to calculate the average drawdown, anchor it simply. Again I'm going to copy the headers from here, right? And we're going to delete this because we will be calculating this from scratch. Okay, now we are going to include a chart here, right? We are going for combo, and here we are going to select area chart, right? And again, to save some time, what we will be doing is simply copying the formats from here, right? And now while pressing the shift button, I'll try to align it to the best. Okay, right, and we'll go back here and copy this from, just simply put it here, right? And this we are going to rename as SENSEX drawdown, right? So to calculate this, the worst drawdowns based on the drawdown periods and the maximum drawdown, we are going to create a lookup sheet, right? So for that we are going to include another sheet. I'm going to format this in order to save some time. I'm again going to copy only the headers from here, right? Here. Okay, and again from here we will be copying the dates and the closing price for Sensex, right? Done, right? So dates simply equal to here, paste it, right? The next date, you have to understand this, right? So every time a new all-time high is created, the drawdown actually begins from the next day, right? When the Sensex fall or whatever, like any stock index falls, right? So for this we are going to say if the latter is smaller than the former, then take the next date, otherwise just, and we are going to paste the format here, just drag it, right? And the last one here is incorrect, so we are going to highlight this so that anyone can tell that this is an anomaly here, right? So now the next close will be simple. If error, we look up the next date, and the lookup table will be here, 2 false, and in case of error, enter, right? Let me check the formatting. The formatting is correct, right? So again, let me just copy this here so I don't have to format it again. So the peak again will be calculated in the same way we did in the previous sheet. I'm going to anchor this, paste it, and remove all the errors, right? And now you are going to see why did we create this date here on the right hand side of the closing, so that we could like get the peak date as well, right? And now the start date. So the drawdown will start from the next day of the peak, right? So we are going to take this, peak, and then the close next day, 3 false, enter. We're going to copy the format from here and just drag it, right? And similarly we're going to calculate the end date. So when should a drawdown end? When the previous peak is broken, right? So if the next peak is greater than the previous one, then we are going to take the date, otherwise just leave it as it is, right? Formatting, right? Okay, so now it will be very easy to calculate the starting point for the drawdown, which is going to be the start date. And with this we are going to match, and then in case of an error, right, we are going to copy the format from here. Again the same thing here, if error, we look up the end date and this 2 false, right? This here. Okay. Now that we have calculated the start date and the end date, it is very easy to calculate the drawdown period, right? So it will be simply the end date minus the start date, and in case of any error, just give me a moment, right? And we are going to format this as days, enter, right? Okay, now that we have calculated the drawdown period, we can now calculate the ranking for the same. This, and the reference will be this. Otherwise, just in case of any error, right, let's check this whether it's working correctly. 1 2 3 4 5, right? 1, this should be 1, this should be 2, this should be 3, this should be 4, and this should be 5, right? So it's perfectly working. Now we don't need to calculate a drawdown here. So the peak's all-time low, right? So please understand this, that after every peak, right, we have to calculate this is the all-time low for this peak, right? We are going to calculate this now. Okay, so to calculate the same, the peak's all-time low, what we are going to use is minf, right? For minf, the minimum will be calculated from here based on the peak, right? I'm going to simply wait a second, just let me format this correctly. Now it's okay, right? Similarly, what we are going to do is for the all-time lows, we are going to find its date, right? And we are going to paste the format here. So now we also have the date for the all-time low for a certain peak, right? And here to calculate the maximum drawdown, what we are going to do, and also to eliminate extras so that the rankings properly calculate, what we are going to do is, if this is equal to this, then just leave it. Otherwise, calculate the drawdown by the all-time lows of the peak divided by the peak, right? And for this, I'm going to go here, copy the format from here, paste it here, and align it, and here we have the. So now that we have calculated the maximum drawdown, we can now rank it accordingly, right? So we are going to calculate the rank. The one difference here is that this should be in ascending order, right? So let's check if this is working correctly. 1 2 3 4 5, right? So this should be 1, this should be 2, this should be 3, this should be 4, and this should be 5, right? Perfect. So now that we have finalized our lookup sheet, now we can pull the data from there. We are going to use VLOOKUP. This we are going to partially anchor this, and here we are going to select this whole. We are first calculating the drawdown period 14, right? So 14 exact and enter, right? So this is the formatting for the cell. Let me just zoom it a bit, right? So I'm going to copy the formula from here and paste it here, right? And I'm just going to change the references. Okay, I did not rename this, right? Look up table. Okay, so we were looking at start date here, right? 12. So this should be 12, this should be 13. All-time high is peak. So what I'm doing here is these are the numbers, this is the count of cells, right? Here 8, right? And similarly what I'm going to do is 8, right? This is how I'm like using this 8, then this should be 9, and then the all-time low is here 15, this should be 16 17, right? 16 and then 17, right? And what we are going to do is simply this and done, right? Similarly, we are going to calculate this here. We look up, partially anchor this. The table reference table will change this one position, right? And this is going to be 16 exact, enter, right? Now I'm going to copy the formula from here, paste it here, and now what I can do is the all-time high was 8, so this should be 7, right? The all-time 7, then this should be 8. Similarly, the all-time low here was 15, so this should be 14. This should be 15. The drawdown days here was 14, so this is going to be 13, and this here is 12, 13, so this should be 11, 12, right? And with this, both our sheets are complete. So what we are going to do now is use Python to calculate drawdown for Sensex, right? And for the same, you have to log in into collab.research.google.com. It's free, and you can now create a new notebook, right? So when you create a new notebook, right, this is untitled, right? So what you are going to do is include a text, right? We are going to delete this, right? And here you are going to write installation and then include a code, right? So similarly, I've already done this here. You can copy, you can do this again, right? And what we are going to do then is that, let me explain this. So we will be pulling data from Yahoo Finance using quantstats, right? I barely understand this Python. I only have a working knowledge of this, and using that, I'll be showing you how to calculate the same, right? So here, because we are using Yahoo Finance, what you can do is, you can go to Yahoo Finance and search for any company. So I've selected Reliance here. So what we are going to do is, we are going to look for Sensex, right? And here we are going to copy this ticker from here and replace that. Just run it, right? We have to run each of these, right? All you have to do is press Control Enter. Right, so we have already calculated these on our Excel sheet, right? So let me show you the same, right? So let me include another sheet here. This will make things clear. Drawdown, copy this, paste it here, right? And copy this, paste it here, right? So this is what is shown here, right? Although this is cumulative return, but it's almost the same thing. And drawdown here and the daily returns. So you'll find a drawdown here, right? This is the drawdown, and these are the worst drawdown periods, right? What are those periods? This. Okay, so here you can notice that this is the drawdown periods calculated by Python, right? And this is arranged in terms of the maximum drawdown and not the drawdown days, right? So we'll be referring this. So on rank 1 happens to be minus 60.91%, right? Minus 60.19%, minus 56.18%, right? You're going to be looking at the first one here. So the starting date here happens to be 9th January of 2008. 9th January 2008. The end date happens to be 3rd November 2010. 3rd November 2008. The days were 10:30. Here it's 10:29. And the value here refers to 9th March 2009, which refers to the all-time lows date here, right? You can see. One thing you might have noticed is that this minus 39.22% isn't, you can't find it anywhere here, right? The next one is 39.22%, which happens to be 38.07%, right? Which happens to be from here. So these numbers cannot be found in Python, and the reason behind it is very simple, right? It is because the data here taken is from 2nd July 1997, right? 2nd July 1997, right? And why is this? Because we have pulled this data from Yahoo Finance, right? So here you can see the reason behind it is very simple. This is the Sensex data on Yahoo Finance, the historicals, and the maximum happens to be only available till the 1997, right? This is the reason why there is a bit of difference here, right? Here you can see all the other periods here happens to be starting from 1992, 1986, 1994, 1990, right? This is the reason why there is a difference between the maximum drawdowns calculated by us manually via Excel and here, right? Although I know there might be a way to do this in Python as well, but I'm not very well versed in Python, right? So I prefer Excel in this case. And here we can see why this is not even being calculated in our Excel sheet, although it starts from 1997, right? So we are going to trace it back to its starting date, August 6, 1997. For the same, we are going to go to our lookup sheet, use the filter, and go find 1997, right? 1997, we are going to be looking for August 8, right? Here you can see there was an all-time high created, but here you can see the problem why we won't able to find it on an Excel sheet, because the data we have taken is from 1994 and the highest peak was created back then only. That's the reason no drawdown is calculated here, right? And this was the difference between Python and Excel calculation of drawdown periods. This was the difference between the way you can calculate drawdowns with the help of Excel as well as Python, right? While using the Python, you'll find that there is so much more data available here and you can go through the same by doing it on your own, right? And that was the video, guys. If you did learn something new, do like, share and subscribe to the channel, and thank you for watching the video till the end.